heartbreaker, tattooed helmet skater. Thrill a minute, take a whirl, but she's my sexy Derby girl. Heartbreaker, skater, whirl, she's my sexy Derby girl.
That's
Are we back live?
not yet. Okay. 30 seconds.
When the normal BS just won't do. ChaoticRadio.com.
And we are back.
It was a slow starting song
Oh,
because it's all sweet.
Our life penetrates eternity, and our imitates love.
welcome back to Power Jams Talk Derby Radio on Chaotic Radio. I would like to thank the Renegade ladies for coming into studio for the first half. So, Rachel, what do you think? Renegade versus Woofda rules.
I think it's kind of interesting. You know, the WUFTA does set up like a lot of
It's very strict.
technicalities.
Yeah, there's a lot of
and-
technical stuff that goes along with it.
And that's probably for the best. I kind of dig the Renegade version too, because then you can just like get in there and you're
It kind of goes
playing-
with chaotic, right?
right.
It's just the chaos of and by no means there are some rules, as the girls had kind of explained. So it's not just absolute chaos out there, but it's like a beautiful chaos, and we love that beautiful chaos. So I do want to thank the Renegade girls. They gave me 4 tickets to their next Renegade bout. This will be held on July 22nd down at the Corona Rinks. So I will be putting those up on the Power Jams page. We're going to figure out how to give these away. It's 4 tickets. So whether we give 2 and 2 away or make it a family pack or whatever it is. So thank you guys for giving us those tickets. So we are going to switch gears here for just a second. I have 2 ladies that will be calling in. One of them, Stace Odyssey. She made a little bit of a ripple here in the Derby community with an article that she posted titled The Horrible Truth About Roller Derby. And then also we're going to have Mary Chaos, who wrote a retort to Stace's article titled No Derby Isn't Perfect, but ... So a little things that I've seen, like when I've seen articles posted, you know, with that kind of seductive title, like The Horrible Truth About Roller Derby or whatever, you know, I'll go and I'll look in there and it turns out to be like The Horrible Truth or Stinky Pads or, you know, The Horrible Truth, the Rink Rash or whatever. Her horrible truth about roller derby is her perspective of what happened with when she played with Bay Area Derby. So I'm Rachel. I'm a little nervous in here all by myself. I'm not used to this. I'm used to having like people here and stuff going on. So
You're doing just fine.
We have, I want to take a quick minute to let the listeners know that the opinion of both of these ladies are their own. This was something that the Derby community was talking about, and I felt that it was something that needed to be talked about on the show. There can only be so much information in these articles, and I thought that it was important to get some of the answers to the questions that I know a lot of people are asking. These were the same questions that I kind of had as I was reading these articles. So shortly after both articles were published, Bay Area Derby did post a statement to the roller derby community. I'm not going to read that right now. It is posted up on the Power Jams Facebook page. Along with the guests that are going to be calling in, their articles are up there. So if you're watching on YouTube and you want to pause it and go find those articles or whatever, please do so that you understand everything that's about to be spoken about. So we have Stacy and Stace and Mary on the phone right now. Ooh, that's a whole lot of loud sounds going on.
Hey, what's up, Mary Chaos? Sorry about the loud noise.
So we have Mary on the phone and we have Stace on the phone, right?
Yes, we have both of them on now.
Oh, make sure everybody turns everything down. So Stace.
Hello.
Hi, Stace. Hey. Welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And then Mary Chaos. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. So I've had conversations with both of you ladies prior to the show coming on, you know, kind of getting background as far as all of this going on. So Stace, let me start with you. What made you decide to write this article 2 years after leaving the league?
It was mostly because I was still thinking about what happened while I was in the league, and I think the catalyst to make me write the post was I was talking to a teammate of mine who actually wrote a blog post as well about the situation. Was we never talked to each other about what happened to us, and that was the problem. It was the secrets, like, because we thought, like, I mean, it was like my mantra that I wrote about in my blog post where I was just saying, suck it up, Buttercup. Like, all of this stuff was happening and it was horrible. And I was like, well, I should just brush it off. And she was experiencing the same thing. Meanwhile, we were being demoralized. And then she ended up quitting Bay Area Derby as well after I quit. And then, 2 years after I quit, I was still thinking about it, and I was like, this is crazy. And I know that it wasn't just me, and it wasn't just my former teammate. It's happening in so many leagues. It's crazy. And I feel like this is something that that needs to be looked at and should be fixed.
Yeah. So you mentioned in the article your first away game with the Richmond Wrecking Bells. You sat on the bench the entire game, right? Was this something that was discussed?
No, I played a couple jams. I played probably, for like 2 jams.
Okay. That was something that I got out of the article that you stated that you didn't play in that game. So I wasn't sure if this was something that was discussed with you before the game, if it was a form of strategy, or if it was something that you had heard happened with a teammate prior.
I mean, it was unclear to me. It was the fact that the way that it was explained to me when I joined the team was that away games, new skaters and rookie skaters were going to play in away games just because BAD is it's such a competitive league that when we play away games, a lot of times we're playing teams that, maybe not easier to win, but maybe a little bit, more competitive if you're playing with rookie skaters on the BAD team. So that's what I thought was going to happen, and it didn't happen. And that's the reason that I included that in the article. Is I kind of wanted to just if that was the only thing that happened to me, big deal, no big deal. And that's what I thought about it at the time. I was like, well, that's disappointing. I didn't get to play. They had the Richmond Wrecking Bells couldn't field an entire team of just Bells, so we had to pull from other Bay Area home teams to play in that game. So instead of giving me the opportunity as an actual member of the Wrecking Bells to play more, they had me sit on the bench, and they just annihilated this team in Santa Barbara. I mean, it was we won by 100 or 200 points. So it was confusing to me. The way that it was explained, it was yeah, okay, if you're a rookie skater, you get to skate in away games, but then I wasn't allowed to skate in that game. So that was the confusion. And then that happened throughout my entire career with skating with the Bells.
And was this your first insight to the quote-unquote bullying on the team?
At the time, I didn't really see it as bullying. I just saw it as maybe a lack of communication, or, I understood, I had pretty heavy team sports background. I played serious volleyball when I was in high school. And so I knew that roller derby wasn't exactly like that. It wasn't as structured. So I thought, well, maybe they just didn't communicate with me. But then when it happened repeatedly with not just me, with other teammates, where it was we were flat out lied to, we were told okay, well, if you go to this away game, we're definitely going to play you a lot. And so then we go to the away game, and then we end up sitting on the bench because, for whatever reason, they don't want to play us. And it wasn't ability or anything like that. It was just, I don't know what it was.
Well, and so last week we had Erkin Jerkin on the phone, or the week before that, I'm sorry. We had Erkin Jerkin on the phone. And I asked her about this. And why would you roster a skater and keep them on the bench the entire time? And she, her question to me was this a strategy? Was this a thing where if you were, and you said this was your first game with the team,
yeah.
Her insight to it was, she uses a strategy where she'll take 12 skaters and she'll run the hell out of those 12 skaters. And then towards the end, if it looks like maybe there's an injury or somebody's just tired or whatever, then you'll take that one who it's her first game or she's a fresh meet or whatever. And then you'll use that one. Was that something that maybe it was that what was happening?
I wish that was a strategy, but that wasn't it just seemed to be just they wanted to play whoever the girls who were the women who were coaches. They just seemed to want to play their friends, and I was new to the team, and it isolated me from the beginning. But again, I thought if it was just this one instance. I've played team sports before. I've sat on the bench before. Like, I understand, it's like you're not going to get to play all the time, whenever you want. It's a group effort. But I felt like it was the lies and the lack of communication that was really frustrating to deal with.
Right. So we have Mary on the phone, Mary Chaos. You wrote a retort to Stace Odyssey's her article.
It wasn't necessarily a retort so much as I read her blog and it inspired my own. I don't want it to say that, because if we call it a retort, then that's going to imply that I believe that bullying doesn't occur in Derby, and that's false.
Right.
I know for a fact that bullying occurs in roller derby, and it is an issue.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get mixed up in what is bullying and what is one or two people being inappropriate or mean or bad coaching is sometimes labeled as bullying, and sometimes it's a matter of one's own perception of and self-analysis, or sometimes lack thereof of self-analysis, that can lead them to believe that, oh, well, people just don't like me. It doesn't necessarily mean that I believe that Stace was not bullied.
Yeah.
Every implication of bullying we need to take very seriously, because it happens. I've been bullied. I've been spit on by a former teammate while she wore her whoopta patch. Like, it is serious, and it happens. So I wouldn't say a retort so much as it inspired my own thoughts.
Yeah. Well, and at the beginning of your article, you acknowledged the bullying in the Derby community.
Right.
But you also said that and you said it wasn't an uncommon thing in just social groups, period, not just Derby, just social groups, period. It's something that happens. And you go on to say, and I quote, "It's our responsibility as an organization to call out the shitty people and hold them accountable." How do you go about doing that if you are constantly hitting a brick wall, as Stace claimed that she did?
In my personal case, I ended up having to transfer after 2.5 years of hitting the wall and getting caught a snake in the grass, and having people tell me that I was just trying to take over the league, and people, saying terrible things, like me and a core of a few other people really were dedicated to our health and like being competitive, and let's take the league, and we can do this, and we're all awesome, and let's embrace our awesome. And other people would come in and go, fucking fresh meat. Mm-hmm. And, oh, well, you go to the gym, well, you're terrible. And just demean us and belittle us. And there was only so many times I could take it to the board.
Yeah.
Before I realized that sometimes the team culture and your own goals don't line up.
Right. And do you think any of that bullying, like with you saying that you were going to the gym or whatever and trying to inspire other teammates to go to the gym, and you were hitting that brick wall in the sense where they were talking shit to you or whatever, do you feel that was their own insecurities that were coming out as them talking shit or bullying or whatever you want to call it?
Absolutely. I had several people actually also say that they feel threatened. Oh, they're just this, they're just that. But there comes a point where it doesn't matter if they're threatened. If they're the president of the league, if they're the coach, if they're the best friend of the coach, if even if you are getting playtime, which I was, you know, we were a small team, you know, maybe 25, 30 people. I was an all-star. I was regularly played as a blocker and a jammer. But to experience the team culture and the way that I wasn't lifted up, I would go to clinics and go to other teams to get better. And I'd come back and say, hey, I learned this great thing. Can I show people? And they'd say, oh, no, you're not allowed to coach. You're not allowed to teach people, not you.
Right.
There's only so much of that a person can take.
Right.
So, you know.
So, Stace, in your article, you said that you saw other team members getting bullied, but you felt like you couldn't do anything about it. At that time, did the thought ever cross your mind to just leave and possibly find another team like Mary did?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. I looked into actually leaving so BAD is a big league, and there's 4 home teams on BAD. So I actually talked to mediation after taking I'll just call them my bullies to mediation to discuss, you know, the issues. And when I saw that things weren't changing, I talked to mediation about dropping off the Wrecking Bells and moving on to a different team within the league. And what I heard from multiple people, not from mediation specifically, but multiple people said, oh, if you drop out of the Bells, what's going to happen is this girl who's bullying you, she's going to go to all the other coaches and basically tell them that you're not a good team player and you're not, you know, and they're going to blacklist you from getting on any team within the league. So I thought, well, okay, so this is what I'm hearing. So I was like, well, it's kind of felt like jumping out of the pan and into the fire at that point. So I was like, well, I'm an adult. I can work it out. And then I looked at other leagues too. But as a person with an athletic background, and I'm very competitive by nature, they're really the most competitive league in the Bay Area is Bay Area Derby at that time. So I was like, well, if I go to another league, I feel like it won't have the competition level that I'm looking for to keep me interested. So
right,
that's
currently BAD is ranked number 22 in the WFTDA. They're a very competitive team. So to leave that team, did you feel that you would be kind of taking a step down?
To leave the league?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it wasn't like, it was, I like the competition level. Like, cause I did skate with, there was like another league that was forming, that I skated with, and it was like just the baby Bambi skaters, you know, at that point. And I was like, well, you know, I wanted to be at a higher level of skating. So, unless I like drove, you know, a couple hours away, maybe to Sacramento or, you know, another league. It was completely inconvenient. I live in Oakland. I'm born and raised in Oakland, and Bay Area practices in Oakland, so I could ride my bike there. So it just seemed like an inconvenience to try to skate with another league. And then I felt like leaving the team, I would be blacklisted from getting onto another team. So that's why I just stayed on the team that I was on. And then I also started to feel like it was my fault too. You know, that's like part of it. It's like, I was like, it's my personality. Like maybe I just need to like change this or change this. And, so there was a lot involved, and that's why I stayed.
Well, and at one point you said that you did quit the team, but you didn't really. You returned as support staff, correct?
Oh yeah. So when I finally quit skating, I would have volunteered for Bay Area Derby forever. Like I love the idea of women being empowered through sports. I've always been about that. And, you know, I was like a teenage goth who was into sports, and I like was always trying to encourage my goth friends to do sports, which of course never happened. So I felt like roller derby, I was like, yes, this is the way we can like get women to play sports. So I really honestly believed in the mission. So that's why I stayed on as a volunteer after I quit skating, because I really wanted to, I thought, well, maybe skating isn't for me. But maybe it's, I can help other people be a part of this. But even as just a volunteer, I was treated very poorly.
Well, and why would you continue to be involved with an organization that you felt had already treated you so horribly?
I thought I could change it. I thought I could change it from within. And that's another reason why I didn't speak out about it for 2 years, is I was really desperately trying to make changes from within, either just through my own behavior or trying to, get the league governance involved. And, I was just shot down every time. But I really believe, I was like, no, I can do this, because honestly, like, most of the women involved in roller derby are these really, and men, are really amazing people. And it just blows my mind that, at least in my experience at Bay Area Derby, there's just like a handful of people that kind of hijack the whole system, and they spoil it for everyone else. Well, so anyway, it just didn't make sense to me. Like, I was like, no, this is going to, I can help change it. There's other people that want to change it from within. Yeah. And I finally realized that that I couldn't do anything.
There was a question. You had said in the article that when you became the person who kind of took care of, let's call it bout production or whatever, as far as the facility that you guys skated at, you said that it had...
Oh, just the practice space. Yeah, that's just, I didn't do the bout. I just, the practice space.
So it had a lot of code violations, the roof leaks. The team wanted to be able to host bouts there, and you were really against that idea, right?
Yeah, I'm still 100% against that. I mean, as far if they want to practice in there, fine, so be it, but I am 100% against inviting spectators into that space who,
Do they have bouts in that space?
Is it where we
I'm not with the league now, so I feel like maybe I shouldn't speak about that. But you'd have to contact SAD to make sure to get a definitive answer.
The reason that I'm asking is BAD put out a video showing their space, their roof leaking. And in your article, you mentioned that there are code violations. And they put it out on their Facebook page that the roof leaks and whatever it is. And you were so adamantly against them practicing there or having bouts there or whatever. Is this something that, like, legality-wise, that they are not supposed to do? And if so, why would they put that out publicly if you feel that it was against any code violations or rules or whatever?
That's a question for them that you should ask them. I mean, I can only give you my opinion at this point since I've been separated from the league for 2 years. Right. But maybe I should just leave it at that. I mean, I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble or anything like that. But
well,
I feel like there's a level of irresponsibility when you are ignoring certain things that I feel like it's. I don't know. I should just leave it at that.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they put it out publicly that their roof leaks and that's where they're hosting bouts and whatever. And you would think that with a top team like that in the situation that they're in, somebody might have said something to code enforcement or whatever. And I'm just trying to get an understanding of you putting that information out in your article or whatever. It almost sounds as if there might not be a problem, because they are putting it out publicly, and then you put it out in the article and nothing's been done about it. So is this something as far as like the city is kind of sleeping on, or is it because you in your article, you stated that they were trying to hide certain code violations?
It's not. So the problem. Okay, so here's what's happening in the Bay Area. I mean, it's incredibly, incredibly expensive to live here, and even to get a commercial space, it's really, really difficult. So, there's a lot of organizations that are kind of stuck in these places that are not ideal, and that's not the fault of Bay Area Derby, but. I do know when I was on the league, like, we were actively working to find a new practice space So as far as, Oakland City government, I mean, you can ask them like what their deal is. But I just know that it's like, I'm a person who wants to make sure that people are safe. So I don't want to, I don't feel comfortable bringing people into an environment without them knowing the entire situation. And that's my opinion on that.
Yeah. So Mary, kind of taking a step back, what do you think about Stace's mantra as far as suck it up, buttercup? Suck it up, buttercup. Is that the attitude that we should have if we want to play the sport?
Well, I mean, I think it depends on at what level are you playing. So someone that plays rec level or C-team level may not. I personally, it's funny because suck it up, buttercup is kind of a joke that I've had with myself for a while, just because I've gone through multiple injuries. I'm coming off of ACL surgery, and there are times where I don't want to do things. And I tell myself to suck it up, buttercup, do the deadlifts anyway, do the workout anyway, go to practice anyway.
But going to the attitude of like the bullying or whatever that Stace talks about, is this an attitude that we should have when it comes to bullying? Because I know in Derby you have to have you have to have thick skin to play this game. I know myself. I talk shit in a joking manner or whatever, and sometimes it does come off harsh. I'm a coach, and I have to be careful of what I say. And sometimes I say things or I have an attitude that day, and I do. I've never personally said this, but I have had kind of the attitude like suck it up, buttercup. But in my league, I 100% do not deal with bullying whatsoever. If a teammate comes up to me or somebody within my league comes to me and says, hey, this person is saying XYZ, I take it very serious, and we go to the board and we take care of it.
Right. So here's the thing. What you're saying, what you're asking me,
and this is Mary, right?
Not, should you as a person have a suck it up, buttercup mantra, but should we as a league, as an organization have that? And
right.
No, of course not. That's just mean. If you as an individual skater want to play at a competitive level, you yourself may have to tell yourself at times, suck it up. This is how it is. You're not always going to play. You're not always going to get the top spot. You're not always going to be in the limelight. Sometimes the workout sucks. Sometimes it's hard. Should we perpetuate well, you should just suck it up attitude? Absolutely not, because that's not how this works.
Yeah.
We are all grown women and men. Even the juniors are grown in my mind. They are human people. And we shouldn't just tell them to just accept and just do what I say because I said so, regardless of whatever. Of course, we have to take bullying absolutely seriously.
Yeah.
I think some people get in trouble because, like you were saying, you have to be cautious with how you say things or what you say. We have many different people in many different kinds of positions, and some of us, myself included, don't always sound the way someone wants us to sound.
Right. Or
and this is Rachel, the engineer over here. Mary Stace, to let you know, my engineer over here, she's kind of learning Derby through this show. And this was one of the dark sides, hashtag dark side of Derby. This was one of those things where she kind of, she's seen the dirty side of it, the bullying that goes along with it, and just playing a woman's sport.
Right. And even getting into skateboarding,
right.
with the different crews and stuff like that, then I can totally get where this is coming from, because not only do you have to be careful in what you're saying and how you're saying it, you also have to deal with people that are also like kind of projecting certain things onto you. So even if you say it in a manner that you think is okay, they can take it to that next level.
And absolutely. I mean, it just society in period. Maybe I'm having a shitty day. You could say to me, you know, whatever you say. And because I'm having a shitty day, I might project it or read it as a shitty thing that you said. And this was something that I
Work
talked
in
to.
retail for a week and you'll experience that at least 7 times.
Well, and Mary, this was the conversation that we had. Do you feel that the word bullying is being used a little too often for certain situations?
So I don't necessarily want to say too often, but I think sometimes people
Is it a scapegoat word?
immediately go to that word
Yeah.
when the word that they should be going, you know, when it should be going to, well, maybe I'm being over persistent, or maybe they're having a bad day, or maybe that drill was meant to be something else. Maybe there's a factor other than just people hate me. And I think that we are a group of people that tend to be a little bit socially anxious,
Yeah.
a little awkward.
Well, and this was
Yeah,
a
not
conversation
always.
I've had with some of my league mates in the sense that Derby attracts a certain kind of person. There's a lot of people who deal with mental health issues as far as like depression or whatever, and this is kind of that outlet. Like, and Stace, you said this sport was attractive to you because it was still a sport, but it kind of brought in those goth punk, no rules type of type of people, the kind of outcast or whatever. And you thought that this would be something that would kind of mesh or blend the two groups together, and you were still kind of outcasted as far as who you were.
I guess, I mean, I don't feel like I was totally an outcast within Derby, and I think maybe, I walked away with some really close friends, and I don't think that I was a pariah by any means. I mean, I do pretty well in social situations. Just what I was not expecting was this sort of like mean girl, like, you can't sit with us type of cheerleader attitude, which I got into goth and punk when I was in high school, so I never really had to deal with that. And so to find it in this culture that I kind of felt like was this, it stemmed from like the whole riot girl movement, which I had never experienced that before. Like, obviously I've had, I'm 42 years old. Like, I have had personality conflicts with people before. Like, it's happened. The issue here was, with me, it was a power dynamic problem. So like the women that were picking on me were in a position where they could seriously, like, they would ask me what my goals, literally they would ask me what my goals in roller derby were, and then they would go out of their way to make sure that I was not reaching those goals. And it was like this crazy thing that I had never experienced before, especially in a group of women who are like heavily tattooed, very diverse, like, well, pretty diverse. So that was what was surprising to me. And the fact that when I went to the organization, so the Bay Area Derby has a mediation committee that's supposed to resolve these issues, that the organization itself never resolved the issue. In fact, it seemed like they were...
Did they not resolve the issue, or did they not resolve the issue to your liking?
There was no resolve. So what would happen is I would take, it's like I would talk to them and take one of the women that was like picking on me into mediation, and we'd have a discussion, and then the woman would say, oh, okay, so, maybe she would apologize, or she would just say, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then would be fine for a week, and then she would go right back to what she was doing. And it was, the same behavior. So not only did it not resolve it with me, it didn't resolve it with any of the other women that they were picking on. So I felt, coming out of it, I feel like I wish that when I took somebody to mediation, that they took it more seriously. Like, there are women within BAD that are constantly being called into mediation. And the way that BAD handles it is they handle it, it seems like, on a case-by-case issue, where they're like, okay, so you talk to her, okay, you talk to her, okay, fine, that's done. And then they never revisit it, and they don't follow.
So there wasn't a 1, 2, 3 step. Like with my, there wasn't a 1, 2, 3 step with my league. The first talking to regardless of what the situation was. The first time you're spoken to, a certain situation happens. Second time you're spoken to, regardless of what the situation was, we now will deal with you accordingly. The third time, you're damn near asked to leave the team. So you're saying with bad, it was like each individual situation, there was just a talking to.
Just a talking to, yeah. So they were trying to like work it out, you know, and then that was the end. And there was no. I think the other issue with that is a lot of times these women who have tendencies to bully get into positions within the league where they are picking who's going to be on the team, or they are, you know, like maybe not a coach, but they're sort of in a like a power position where they can determine the destiny of the teams in the league. And that I feel like it's, you know, I don't, you know, even though I am really pissed off at the women who were very cruel to me, like I still feel like there's a place for them in Derby. Like they don't have anything else. They need Derby. So keep them in Derby. There's a place for everybody, but just make sure that they are not in a leadership role. Like keep them, you know, they can play, they can skate or whatever, but don't let them make the decisions for the league.
Yeah. And with that situation, I mean, you have to have somebody in a sense of leadership, and it's a shitty situation that those are the women that just happen. In your opinion, those are the women that happen to be in charge of it. But, you know, you said that whenever you would try to take a stand or whatever, because you didn't have any clout with the team, your voice was not heard.
Correct. Yeah.
And do you feel? So break it down for us as far as bad goes. And this is to help any teams out there, maybe someone who wants to start a team or whatever. How was Bad's structure in the sense of their leadership or whatever?
I mean, I feel like they have like a typical governance. I mean, every single job is a volunteer position. I know there's some leagues where they have a paid position for maybe an executive director. But it's, yeah, I mean, it's pretty typical. I think that the problem, though, is a lot of times, like, even the board, they don't have a lot of clout to make decisions for the league either. So it's just kind of this whole, like, screwy, everything is very muddy, it seems. I don't know. I mean, but again, I haven't been on the league in 2 years. So I should say that I did receive, after I had published this blog post, after BAD released their statement, like maybe a week later, the board of directors sent me an email saying that they are working to combat bullying.
And that was a statement that BAD put out shortly after shortly after both yours and Mary's article came out.
Yeah, well, they sent me a private email as well. So yeah, it was basically they pretty much reiterated what they said in the in their statement about bullying to me in that email. But it really kind of seems like they need somebody from the outside to come in, you know, somebody who's unbiased to come in and take a look at the situation and fix it if it's fixable. I don't know. It just seems pretty messed up over there right now.
Yeah, and I know, Mary, I know you have to get going here pretty soon, but Mary, how do you feel Stace's article will impact the Derby community and potentially anyone that may be thinking about playing Derby? Do you think that this is going to take a negative aspect for any potential players?
I mean, the thing that I think a lot of us were worried about is that the blog has... because I'm a marketer, so I think in terms of SEOs. So it has roller derby in the title, and it essentially says the title implies roller derby is a terrible thing.
Right.
And that's part of what inspired me to write mine and title it the way that I did, was that it's not terrible. It's got some terrible aspects. Everything in life does, and that doesn't excuse it. But roller derby isn't terrible, and you shouldn't see this one blog from one person and just assume that that's going to happen to you. Unfortunately, just like everything in this world, it's a little bit of a numbers game. We've got a lot of people in roller derby now. It's becoming a much more popular sport, thank goodness, because the more people involved, it means that the health and the prosperity and, you know, the next generation will be able to take it and hopefully improve it, as we're already seeing. But yeah, our worry was that people were going to see this and go, oh, roller derby? Well, it's throwing elbows and apparently bullying other people, so I'm just not even going to bother with it. It's not that we don't want people to talk about it. We want people to talk about bullying.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that Stace, I'm glad that you put it out there, your experiences. I think where people were concerned was that the title itself might get to so many people that have never heard of roller derby before, and we don't want that to be their first impression, because just like, again, in many things, it's the smallest, loudest people that we hear the most.
Yeah.
And it's always the worst things that we hear first, you know.
And that was one
there
of
are
the...
a lot of bad things going on, and that's what we hear about. And we don't want people to hear about the bad.
Well, when I spoke to Stace shortly after her article came out, I spoke to Stace, and I told Stace, you could confirm this or not. I told you I was afraid to share your article on my personal page. I shared this article with my team page, but I was afraid to share this article only because I do have people on my personal page, Facebook page, that I have been trying to recruit as far as playing derby. And I felt that this was going to send a negative, a negative connotation towards the sport that I am in absolute love with. And I did not want that to be shared. Did you understand the repercussions that this article would potentially have on the derby community?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I told people, like, I have a marketing and social media background, and I understand the power of words. I also understand I'm not a wizard. I'm not, my words are not the end-all, be-all of everything. Usually people's personal experiences, actually always people's personal experiences will overcome whatever they read or see on TV. I feel that, the response that I got from my article definitely showed me that bullying is an epidemic in roller derby, and I think it is worse in roller derby than other communities. I'm going
to have to say that I disagree with you. As far as being an epidemic, I've been playing the sport for almost 9 years now. I have never once dealt with bullying. As far as my own personal aspect, I have never been bullied. Maybe it's my personality. Maybe it's who I am. I don't allow that to come towards me. I'm not going to say it's an epidemic. I'm going to say that there probably is a problem with it, in the sense like there's maybe some shitty ass people out there that do it. But I'm not going to allow you to use the word epidemic.
Okay, so are you saying that like a certain type of personality will get bullied more than that? So I have the type of personality that gets bullied.
I mean, if you're gonna allow yourself to be, I guess.
Okay.
If someone
everyone allows themselves to. Like, I was not trying to allow myself to get bullied. I would not say it's necessarily an epidemic, but it is a hard thing to try and define what we're going through right now. There are shitty elite cultures.
I may be very naive because of the fact that I have never had this sent to me. I've never been bullied, so I could be very naive in this aspect. But and I do feel that somebody's
going to a part of a league that encourages or allows it. Like, it's not that you're necessarily naive. It's just that you have been lucky enough to never be a part of a league that tolerates it.
Yeah, and in my area alone, there's I would say 11 leagues or so, 11 to 12 leagues, and I've skated with a number of those leagues, and I have not seen that in these leagues. I'm not saying that it's not a problem, and I know that I'm very blessed in the sense where I have not had to deal with that bullying. But it takes it back. I'm not gonna say that it's an epidemic. I mean,
okay. Well, let's talk about. I mean, let's just kind of. like compare it to like Catholic priests and molesting children. Like, it's something that happens, but are people not going to be Catholic because that happens? No. I mean, people are still going to, you know, be Catholic. So in me shining a spotlight on it, all I'm doing is saying, like, this is something that happens. And if the roller derby community wants to overcome it, which I honestly believe, like, the roller derby community, like I said before, it's mostly awesome people who do not want this to happen. And I think if anyone can combat bullying, it's the roller derby community. But in order for it to gain any traction or for us to get anywhere with it, we absolutely have to acknowledge the fact that it exists.
Well,
and so if it's not happening to you, that's awesome. But it is happening to a lot of people.
And that was the point of this show.
Like, the reaction that I got from this blog post, I was overwhelmed. I mean, it was like insane. You know, the stories that I heard from people. I mean, it was crazy. But I also got a lot of positive feedback from people saying that their leagues are not like that either. So
and I was one of those ones. When I immediately posted on that, I said, I'm sorry that this is something that you had to go through. I'm sorry that this is something that you had to deal with. I am fortunate enough. We don't foster that attitude at my team whatsoever. You know, and I know a lot of the leagues in my area, we don't deal with that. And I think it primarily comes from the fact that a lot of these teams have kind of branched off of each other. So that was just the, kind of the attitude that we've had. We sat here for a whole hour for this. I want to say thank you to Mary. I want to say thank you to Stace for calling in. I do appreciate both of your guys's. Do you have a trouble back there?
It sounds like
sorry.
someone's
I'm petting Driveway Cat. Driveway Cat has a very loud purr.
I was like,
I didn't think that would get picked up. I'm sorry.
No, that's so awesome. I mean, with Derby, and Rachel's gonna learn this. With Derby, everybody loves kitties and everybody loves cats in the roller derby community.
I love that.
Sorry, Driveway Cat's very loud.
I love that.
Okay, Driveway Cat, you need to go outside.
I do want to say I want to say thank you to Stace, one for writing this article, for highlighting the this topic in Derby, for highlighting the bullying that does go on. I'm not going to deny that it doesn't go on. I know that it does. So I think this is going to open the dialogue for a lot of teams, that maybe this will give somebody the courage or open it up for somebody to say, hey, you know what? I'm going through this shit right now, and this is not something that I want to deal with. So I want to say thank you to you, Mary. I want to say thank you for you calling in and kind of giving a different perspective as far as what you've dealt with. We are about out of time over here. We're gonna go play some songs real quick. Thank you, ladies, for calling in. I appreciate it. I hope I didn't ruffle too many feathers, because I tend to do that.
I'm fine. Thanks so much for having me. It was really, really awesome to talk to you ladies about this. And again, I just want to repeat, it wasn't my intention to kill roller derby, and I don't think that my article will. The way that people have reacted, I think it's going to make it better, and it's going to make it more awesome.
100%. Yeah. Stace, are you skating anywhere currently?
I'm not playing derby anymore. I'm done. I skate in skate parks and I street skate, so I'm still roller skating, but my derby days are done.
And then Mary, you're skating out in Florida, right?
I play for Tampa Roller Derby. I play for our Bruce crew. We're about to we're actually hosting B Team Champs here in Tampa in October.
Awesome.
The hostile takeover.
Give your website out so that we could check it out.
So for Tampa Roller Derby, it's easy. It's TampaRollerDerby.com. My blog is ChaosTheoryDerby.com, and it's chaos with a K.
Just like Chaotic
And I'll
Radio.
be at RollerCon coaching and stuff.
Yay! So I'll see you at RollerCon.
Shameless plugs.
All right, Stace. All right. Thank you, Mary, for coming on the show. I will be talking to you guys very shortly here soon. And this is Power Jams Talk Derby Radio on Chaotic Radio, sponsored by EmpireSkates.com. Check them out. Use the code PowerJams10 to get your 10% discount, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much.